The Krillian transport ship's engines whined to a halt as Captain Zixith stared at the impossible sight before him. Where the endless crimson wastes of Theta Scorpii 7 should have stretched unbroken to the horizon, a ramshackle building sat, defiantly against the dunes. Neon signs flickered in languages he didn't recognize, casting blue and pink shadows across the sand. "Scanner readings confirm it, Captain," his navigator chittered nervously. "There's a structure at coordinates 847 north, 2341 east, right in the heart of the Crimson Death." Zixith's four eyes narrowed. The Crimson Death, that's what every spacefaring species called this desert. Temperatures that could melt Vraxian steel during the day, cold enough to freeze liquid nitrogen at night. Sandstorms laced with crystalline, particles that could strip flesh from bone in minutes. Radiation levels that made neutron stars look hospitable. The desert had claimed 17 different colonization attempts from 7 species over the past 3 centuries. Nothing survived the Crimson Death. Nothing. "Captain," the communications officer's voice cracked. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface." "Put it through." Static filled the bridge, then a distinctly organic voice emerged. Rough, weathered, unmistakably from one of those bipedal mammals that had recently joined the Galactic Federation. "Well, hey there, space travelers. This is Murphy's last stop, the finest watering hole this side of the neutron field. Y'all look like you could use a drink and some climate control. Come on down." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Zixith had heard stories about humans, their inexplicable tendency to appear in places that should kill them, doing things that defied logic. But this was beyond even their reputation. "Sir." The science officer's tentacles writhed with agitation. "The readings are unusual. The structure appears to be powered by some kind of thermal differential engine using the extreme temperature variations. There are also what appear to be moisture condensers pulling water directly from the sand. And the radiation? Somehow being converted to electrical power through an array of crystalline collectors on the roof." Zixith made a decision that would haunt his dreams for cycles to come. "Prepare the shuttle. We're going down." 20 minutes later, he stood before a wooden door marked "Murphy's Last Stop" in a dozen languages, including several that shouldn't exist on a planet with no indigenous life. The door swung open before he could knock. The human who greeted them was exactly what Zixith expected and nothing like he'd imagined. Weathered bronze skin spoke of years under the brutal sun, but bright green eyes sparkled with an unsettling cheerfulness. Gray hair was pulled back under a wide-brimmed hat, and despite the hostile environment outside, he wore a simple cloth shirt and pants. "Captain Zixith, I presume. Murphy's the name. Come in, come in. Don't mind the heat exchange. She's a bit loud during the transition periods." The interior defied physics as much as its existence. Cool air circulated freely and the walls hummed, with some kind of cooling system. A bar dominated one wall lined with bottles containing liquids of every conceivable color. Tables and chairs accommodated at least a dozen different species' anatomies. "How?" Zixith's translator struggled with the concept he was trying to express. Murphy chuckled, wiping down a glass with practiced ease. "Long story, friend. Short version? My ship broke down here about 15 years ago. Figured I had 2 choices. Die cursing the universe, or make the best of a bad situation. Turns out, everything that makes this desert deadly also makes it pretty useful if you know how to work with it instead of against it." He gestured to the walls. "Thermal differential powers everything. Radiation provides backup energy and helps sterilize the water I pull from the sand. Those crystal storms, perfect abrasive for my mining operation." He nodded toward a back room where the sound of machinery hummed steadily. "Turns out there's rare minerals in them crystals. Fetch a good price with the trade ships." "But the isolation," Zixith protested. "The danger. Isolation's not so bad when you're used to your own company. As for danger?" Murphy shrugged. "Life's dangerous anywhere. At least here I don't have to worry about politics or traffic." The human moved behind the bar with fluid efficiency, somehow knowing exactly what each of Zixith's crew would need. The navigator received a fizzing blue concoction that matched her species' atmospheric requirements. The science officer's drink bubbled gently with compounds that would supplement his methane-based metabolism. Besides, Murphy continued, setting a glass of something that sparkled like starlight before Zixith, I've got customers now. Word gets around, you know. Turns out there's quite a few folks who appreciate a neutral ground, a place to stop and think without interference from governments or guilds. As if summoned by his words, the door chimed. 3 Velthari merchants entered, their blue skin dusty from travel, followed by what appeared to be a hegemon diplomat and 2 species Zixith didn't recognize. They all nodded familiarly to Murphy and found their usual spots. The secret, Murphy said, refilling drinks with practiced ease, isn't surviving the desert. It's understanding that the desert doesn't care about you one way or the other. It just is what it is. Work with that instead of against it, and you might be surprised what becomes possible. Zixith sipped his drink, somehow perfect for his physiology, and watched this impossible human move among creatures from across the galaxy with easy familiarity. Outside, the wind howled and crystal particles pinged against reinforced windows. But inside Murphy's last stop, beings from a dozen worlds shared drinks and conversation in comfortable defiance of a universe that insisted such things were impossible. When Zixith finally left, his cargo hold was full of rare crystals Murphy had traded for supplies, and his head was full of questions he'd never thought to ask. As his ship lifted off, he looked back at the small building growing smaller in the vast red wasteland. Humans, he decided, were either the most adaptable species in the galaxy or completely insane. Probably both. And somehow, that made perfect sense.